The one word that comes to mind is monster.
Love is a funny thing. Sometimes it makes you fight the whole world to be with your beloved, and sometimes it makes you do some terrible deeds that go down as the worst crimes in history. Call it love or obsession, but Liz Golyar was so infatuated with Dave Krupa that she was even ready to murder a complete stranger. Not only that, she was even willing to impersonate the person she killed to keep herself away from suspicion. In today's video, we will dive into the bizarre case of a love triangle gone wrong and discover what happened to the body of Cari Farver, the victim of one of the most horrendous murders committed under the name of love. But before we get started with the video, we have a small request for you. If you like the content, subscribe to us and like this video. It might be just a simple click for you, but it means a lot to us. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's get started.
One I absolutely recognize. It was the girl from the shop a couple weeks ago.
Who is Cari Farver in Lover Stalker Killer? The Netflix true crime documentary titled Lover Stalker Killer tells the story of Dave Krupa, who got involved with two women, and the result of this weird love triangle was the death of one. Dave Krupa was happily married to his wife Amy Flora, and they had two kids. Dave and Amy were happy in their life, but soon things started falling apart, and both of them decided to quit their marriage and start anew. Dave moved to Omaha, Nebraska to start a new life, but he wasn't aware of what lay ahead. Since Dave was already 36 years old, he turned to online dating to fill the void of love in his life. He met a woman named Liz Golyar on an online dating website and started dating her. After a bad breakup, Dave was not ready for commitments and explicitly stated to Liz, who was okay with their non-exclusive arrangement, but soon Dave met another woman named Cari Farver. Dave was a mechanic and Cari met him when she came to fix her car. Dave instantly fell in love with Cari but was unable to ask her out. Later, Dave found Cari on the same dating site where he met Liz and started a conversation with her. Dave asked Cari on a date and she agreed. They met and had a really amazing time together. Cari revealed that she became a mother when she was very young and had a son named Maxwell. Cari also reveals that she's not looking for commitment and is looking for something non-exclusive, which is what Dave wanted too. This was like the perfect deal for Dave because both of them were looking for the same thing. So at the end of their date, Dave asks Cari to come to his apartment, and when Cari is there, Liz comes to Dave's apartment unannounced to get something she forgot in his room. This was the first time Cari and Liz came face to face, but there wasn't any kind of angst or jealousy in anyone's eyes. But no one knew that this was the beginning of the end. Later, Cari became close to Dave and spent a lot of time in Dave's apartment because her workplace was close to Dave's apartment. One fine morning, Dave kisses Cari and leaves for work. But around 10 or 10:30 a.m., Dave gets a text from Cari asking if he wants to move in together. But Dave had been dating Cari for only 2 weeks now, so he was not ready and replied that they already talked about this. And as soon as he sent the text, he was bombarded with a barrage of rude and mean text messages from Cari. When Dave reached his apartment during lunch, he found it abandoned and Cari was gone. Her belongings, toothbrush, everything was gone. Dave was sad, but moved on, thinking that he had dodged the bullet. Things went silent for a few days, but then again, Dave was bombarded with mean messages from Cari, with some even sounding like straight-up death threats. A few days passed, and when Nancy Rainey, the mother of Cari Farver, could not reach out to her, she filed a missing person report. Soon after filing the complaint, she received a text message from Cari claiming she wasn't missing and just needed time. Later, Cari even starts sending threatening messages to Liz Golyar. She claims that she would kill Liz's children if she got close to Dave, and one day, she even breaks into Liz's garage and leaves a threatening message for her. This was all too much for Dave to handle, so he hired a detective, Chris LeGros, and asked for his help in catching Cari, but the detective could not get a hold of Cari. One day, Dave gets a message from Cari that she has set Liz's home on fire. Although Cari intended to kill Liz and her children in the fire, the kids were lucky not to be in the house when the fire started. But Liz's pet dog, cat, and snake weren't so lucky and met their demise in the fire. This was all too much for Dave, so he decided to change his phone number and move away. Liz also moved away after the fire but did not reveal any information to Dave. But unluckily, the stalking and threatening text messages didn't stop for Dave. Now it's been 2.5 years since anyone had seen Cari, and the police started to doubt that Cari might no longer be alive. So they decided to trace where the messages and emails were coming from, and all the digital evidence led to Todd Butterbaugh. When Todd was investigated, it revealed that he had an on and off girlfriend who was staying at his place and using his Wi-Fi, and his girlfriend was none other than Liz Golyar. The police had enough evidence that Golyar had been impersonating Cari ever since November 2012, but that evidence was not enough to apprehend Liz. The investigators soon found their big breakthrough when Liz even started stalking Amy and made everyone believe that Amy was after her life by shooting herself in the leg. After recovering and getting out of the hospital, she revealed to the police that Amy shot her and that Amy was also responsible for the disappearance of Cari Farver. The police knew Liz was lying, but decided to play along with Liz's story. The police claimed that even though it was Amy, there was no significant evidence available to arrest her. This was a trap set by the investigators and Liz fell for it. She created a fake ID under the name of Amy and started sending emails to herself with explicit details about how she killed Cari Farver. The common theme of the messages was that Liz stabbed Cari inside Cari's car and later burned her dead body. Even though Liz basically confessed her crimes, the police couldn't prove a murder without a dead body or a crime scene. So they later started investigating Cari's car and found Liz's fingerprints on a mint container inside it. Later, they also found traces of blood under the fabric cover of the passenger's seat, which was proof that the murder had happened. So, based on Liz's confessions and the details of the crime, the police finally arrested Liz in December 2016. Later, Dave gave the police an SD card from his old tablet in the storage unit, and the investigators hit the jackpot because they found almost 11,000 photos inside the SD card. Most of them were selfies of Liz, but among this overwhelming pile of photographs, the police found a single photograph of a mutilated foot that belonged to Cari Farver. The police recognized the foot because it had the same tattoo that was on Cari's foot. This was sufficient proof to charge Liz Golyar with first-degree murder. Finally, in 2017, Judge Timothy Burns sentenced Golyar to a lifetime imprisonment on the charges of first-degree murder and second-degree arson.
The court finds beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant intentionally killed Cari Farver.
What happened to Cari Farver's body? Liz Golyar was sentenced to a lifetime of imprisonment for the inhumane crime committed by her, but unfortunately, no one was ever able to find Cari Farver's body. If Liz Golyar's confessions are to be believed, she killed Cari inside her car and later burned her body. So we think it's impossible for the police or anyone to find her body after so many years. To be truthful, it's tough to convict someone of murder if you don't have a dead body, especially when the criminal is repeatedly denying the murder claims. Times like this demand miracles, and that's what investigators received when Liz fell into their trap and revealed the whole ordeal of how she murdered Cari. This allowed the investigators to connect the dots and build a case against her. The investigators also got lucky because Dave gave them the right SD card and they were able to find a single image of Cari's severed foot. Although all of these miracles were enough to put Liz behind bars, they were not enough to bring Cari back. The day of Liz's imprisonment was a big win for the police, but also a day of loss for Nancy and Cari's son Maxwell. The worst part was Nancy and Maxwell never even got to bid a proper goodbye to Cari or do her final rites. Later, the investigating officers set up a scholarship fund under Cari Farver's name, hoping to link her name to something positive. As for Cari's son Maxwell, he studied at Iowa State University from 2016 to 2021 and married his childhood sweetheart, Sarah Weed. As for Cari's mother, Nancy, she maintained a low profile as she was still dealing with the death of her daughter. Marvelous verdict. The Liz Golyar case became so popular because the case was highly unpredictable. No one can ever assume that a person can go to extremes like burning their own house and shooting themselves in the leg just to put the blame on others. What's more perplexing is even after being convicted and sentenced to a lifetime in prison, Liz Golyar still refuses to accept the crime she committed. Even after years, she still claims that someone else committed the murder and she was innocent. Although Cari Farver and her family received justice in the end, one thing is for sure: love is a game of fire and ice. It soothes the soul, but in certain conditions, it burns through the body, turning you into ashes. So, be wise and make the right choices in love. With that being said, if you liked our content, like it and subscribe if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.